We are recording.
Perfect.
Finally. Sorry.
Okay.
It took a minute.
Tell me who you are.
I am Damon Jimenez. I'm an insurance broker here in the Central Valley, and I primarily focus on life insurance, the boring stuff.
Is it?
Kinda.
I don't know.
It gets fun once you actually get into it, and
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, this is actually really important.
Yeah. I was going to say, well, we were just talking a minute ago, and I feel like it's the exciting stuff because of all the possibilities that it actually gives a person. It's just nobody knows.
That's the
Like
biggest thing.
we're so undereducated, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Just nobody, everyone's like, oh, isn't that like for grandparents? And I'm like, it does this, and this, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. And if you don't get it for your grandparents before their grandparents, you might not be able to.
Yeah.
Right? Even bigger story, right? But I want to start a little bit further back. Will you take me back to your childhood? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you come from? What's your family like? What was your, what's your childhood like?
I'll try to
All the way
keep it
back.
short. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I am originally from Salinas,
Okay.
out near San Jose area, and it was my mom and my stepdad and my brother.
Okay.
My brother's dad raised me till I was about 12 until I moved back out here.
Okay.
And I think the reason why I gravitated towards the real estate, because I actually wanted to be a realtor at one point.
Did you?
I was looking into it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't want to do construction the rest of my life, but I don't really know what to do.
Yeah.
And so...
Okay, so you're skipping ahead. So back to childhood, because you wanted to be a realtor. You were doing construction before that?
Yeah, well, that's when I was older, but
okay.
now that I was thinking out loud, and I was like, oh, actually thinking about my story, maybe that's why I kind of gravitated towards working with realtors, and I kind of went back to that. So grew up in Salinas.
Moved here at 12, did you say?
No, I was born here, and like a year later, my mom and stepdad, brother's dad, moved to Salinas.
Got it.
Can't remember why. I think they just saw like entrepreneur, they were just like, oh, we need
More
to go here and
something.
get away from the Fresno heat and be kind of near the Bay Area, but like not pay San Jose prices. So we moved to Salinas.
Okay.
And so we moved to Salinas, and my mom is an entrepreneur. I think my mom's had like one normal job. She's always been an entrepreneur. So I grew up around that.
I was going to say, so that was inspiring to you probably? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So me getting older, going to a normal job, I was like, I don't like someone telling me what to do. Like this is
an 8 to 5 thing.
Yeah. Like I want to kill it for a couple hours in the morning, take a little break, or some days just kind of, just I want to do my thing.
Yeah.
I want to build my brand.
You want to decide your own value, your own worth, and
I want to build my
be in
brand.
control of it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Mom was always an entrepreneur.
What kind of things did she do as an entrepreneur?
So back in the day, she would lease. I don't know if there's like a correct term for this.
Yeah.
But I told her, I go, you started the first Airbnb basically. And
so she was like leasing to sublease.
She would lease multiple apartments at once.
Okay.
And then we lived near a hospital.
Okay.
So she would fully furnish them. Beautiful. Like you should see the pictures.
Gosh.
She's a designer, photographer. Her stuff was like Kardashian back then. It was cool. They were fully furnished. The doctors, what's your favorite food, what's your, wines. It was like a really nice hotel, but they would only stay there for a month, 3 months.
So she's like the furnished finders for nurses and hospital staff now.
Yeah.
Like that's what
I don't know what they call
furnished
it.
Finders is like a real thing.
Oh, got it. Okay. So that's what she was doing back in the mid 90s.
Okay. Yeah, she was innovative.
Her business was called Innovative Living.
Oh my God.
And it was Executive Housewares, and then it went to Innovative Living later.
That's so cool.
And so my side jobs during the summer and in the winter, we'd be down at the warehouse, folding napkins and putting forks and fluffing pillows and loading them into the vans, and then the vans would go out. But before they got really big, it's actually kind of funny. For a while when I was young, I was like, Mom, in all these pictures, like, where's our furniture? She goes, we had to rent our furniture for the first apartment we rented out. And so she was like, remember we used to do forts and camping inside? I was like, yeah. She goes, we had no furniture.
Oh my gosh.
And my family thought I was insane.
But
they were
you
like,
never
you
thought
rented your
a problem.
furniture? No.
You were like, this is cool. We're camping in the living room.
When you're 6, 7 years old, you're like, cool, we have no beds. We can sleep wherever we want, you know?
Solid memories right there. Yep.
Yeah.
She did great at that. Yeah.
And so we would just camp out and didn't have furniture, and, the TV was on the ground, and we were like, oh, we're camping,
Oh my gosh.
And, but then, so then later I realized my mom was like, yeah, we rented all of our furniture because Kevin, my stepdad, my brother's dad, he was the apartment manager.
Okay.
And my mom wanted to stay home and do that. Mm-hmm. So we had a free place. So my mom was like, why don't we furnish that place and go rent it to that person and make a couple $100 bucks? Mm-hmm. So that was, and then
times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, that turned into 2 apartments and then 3 apartments and then she managed it and then 4 or 5. And then they were like, let's get closer to the hospital. Let's make some business cards. Let's start getting the LLC. Let's start doing this correctly. And so before you know it, we went from living in a tiny little apartment to, by the time I'm in 5th grade, we have a big house up on the foothills on the outside of Salinas. But we went from like the worst side of town to just, oh my gosh, like that all happened within just 5-6 years or something.
How fast you can go from like nothing to something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty, I was like, whoa, like it's kind of crazy. Like, yeah, we're all sharing like one little car, and before you know it, we've got 2 cars now, we've got a house, and then we've got another house, and now we've got a big house. And, but so that turned into like, I think like 100 apartments at one point.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, but there was no God in our life, 2 young people with kids just kind of figuring it out.
With some money now too? Like.
Yeah. Maybe partying a little too much, and before you know it, it all fell apart within just a couple years.
Oh, wow.
And so, so we went from that to keeping it very short. But my childhood was like amazing.
Yeah.
Like I never saw any of it.
Yeah.
My mom was like, oh yeah, we were getting in trouble and we were doing, but I was like, I never saw any of it. I just saw the white picket fence. I saw the nice cars. I saw my nice school.
Yeah.
My stepdad was the soccer coach, and she used to dress up like Clifford when I was in 2nd grade, and I never saw any of it.
Right.
And she was like, yeah, but when you don't make the right choices and relationships aren't built on trust or whatever it might have been.
Yep.
When you get that much money, people get greedy, you start fighting. Before you know it, you just you just self-sabotage.
Absolutely.
And so, but like childhood, super fun, great friends, moving around a lot was actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then we went from that to them splitting up. My brother went with dad.
Okay.
And I stayed with my mom.
Okay.
And then she started her own side thing again, started rebuilding them up. And then it was just like watching her day and night, me working with her till midnight, just carrying furniture. We got to get this. We got to get it out of this apartment,
like
get it to this one.
The hustle had to start from square one again.
Yeah, so I'm just basically helping my mom refurnish apartments.
Yeah.
And then when one apartment's available, we'll sleep there. And if all the apartments aren't available, we'll sleep at a friend's house until we get our apartment back, because we had to rent ours.
To make the money, yeah.
It was just go, go, go.
Wow.
So I saw my mom really just go at it, just no quit.
She never gave up.
No quit at all. And then so eventually we ended up basically living out of her Jeep for a while. We slept in her Jeep for almost a year, stayed at friends' houses, bounced around, slept in the Jeep, bounced around, it just wasn't working. And
did you still have like no perspective on what that was at that time?
When you're young, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I wasn't stressed at all.
We're now, just a little bit ago, we were talking, we're like, oh wait, we could tie that to like why you became who you are today. Mm-hmm. But like in the moment, maybe your mom was thinking, oh my gosh, this is really hard for my kid. But as a kid,
well, my mom was, she was like my best friend though.
Yeah.
We had a weird, almost like she was my older sister. Uh-huh. Like we didn't have like a normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like there was still like structure there.
Yeah.
Get in bed. I'm not done. I'm not kidding anymore. But I was like, okay, now she's serious. But it was more. But it was it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
It was. It didn't stress me out at all. Like it wasn't
That's
like
amazing.
I'm traumatized. I was like, this is awesome.
So she still sheltered you from the hardship of that. Yeah. Like you're living in a vehicle.
Living out of a backpack pretty much for that 1 year or whatever it was, and just kind of.
She's really resilient.
Yeah, I mean oh my gosh, we're gonna talk about it. I hope my mom doesn't see this. You learn a lot of cool little things when you're broke.
Yeah.
Acting like always carrying a white towel into hotels, like you're staying there to go get free breakfast.
Oh my gosh.
Always having the card kind of in view when you're walking by, and they just kind of, oh, good morning, oh, hi. And can I get another bathrobe? I don't have watching my mom kind of work this, I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, seriously, like, I know you say, you know, I hope my mom doesn't see this, and, you know, she never has to if you don't want her to.
She might laugh now, but she might be kind of like, why are you telling that story?
But also, I mean, it tells a lot about her as the strength of a woman. Like, to me, I'm like, wow, I want to meet her. She's, what a strong woman. She didn't give up. Mm-mm. She didn't say, wow, life got hard. Like, I'm just going to go cry myself on the corner. She kept fighting.
She could have moved back to Fresno, back in with my grandma and grandpa. She was like, no.
Oh my
You know,
gosh.
I think she became a millionaire at like 28. Like,
wow.
Like it went up really high and then it came down just as fast.
That's like a whole nother episode and a story in itself, right? Like how you can win fast, but if you weren't prepared for that blessing, you can lose fast, right? And I think like it sounds like her story could share that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was. What's up, sissy?
It's real life.
Sissy has to go potty. Hold on. From, you know, the nice big house to, you know, always having a white towel in the Jeep because you want to look like you get the free continental breakfast. And, you know, always having a card or finding a card or, you know, making friends with like the maintenance guy, you know, because he knows you're not really staying there, but he doesn't care, you know, if you just bring him his coffee likes or just kind of making friends, you know. So it was kind of fun though. And then like literally like we would be driving on fumes, have no gas in the car, her brakes are squeaking like crazy, and she would become friends with like the gas people and you know, we'll change your brakes, not a big deal, you know, and then she would bring them like just little gifts because she still had a warehouse full of stuff. And then she started selling it, and then she started giving beds away to the kids, and then you make friends with the auto mechanic guy, and here's, you know, let me change your oil, and it was just like, now it's like, now we're broke, but we have like a buddy system of people we can go to, and you know, you have
community. She built a community based on relationships.
You know, and then, you know, even becoming friends with like locksmiths to like get your stuff out of places because they locked it and it's closed, and so it got a little wild when I was
a little
young.
hairy. But did you still go to school during this time?
I was still going to school. So
you like didn't miss a day, like nobody else knew?
Sometimes I miss school, but it's because it's like, who are they going to call? Like they don't have anyone, you know.
I guess
And so so we still use like an address to go to school and all that stuff, but so it was fun. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, we don't have a house, we have nowhere to live, we're gonna be. It was fun bouncing around. I'd go stay with friends. We would stay with her friends. We would stay in the Jeep. She would, you know, be stressed out and burned out sometimes and be like, you want to go to Monterey? We would just park the car backwards and just go to sleep. Just leave the back open and just hang out. She had like all these cool pillows like in the back of the Jeep. And it was like a big sauna, you know, she put like a big cushion back there, and we were just kind of like camping out. We were just hanging out.
Best friends.
Yeah, it was like, it was crazy.
So after that year, what happened that changed that situation?
She stayed in Salinas. I moved with my dad.
Okay.
And then, because even she was like, okay, you need more, like, you need to go live with your dad. And
probably it was the hardest decision
if this doesn't work out, I'm just going to come back, you know?
Yeah.
And so she came back, and then I was living with my dad, and then she was still trying to build that business. And then my dad, he's always been in construction. So my dad's ex-wife, very long story short, my dad's ex-wife, she leaves. Because the first business was like kind of failing and ex-partner stuff. Papers were not signed correctly. And so him and my mom start hanging out. Hey, Tony, can you help me with this stuff? You know, I know your dad's, my grandpa was a CPA, EA. Okay. And, you know, can you call your dad? I need help with this. Like, you know, I'm going to restart this whole thing and do something. You know, I got to figure this out.
So he was an entrepreneur too.
Yeah.
You couldn't have ever been anything other.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so, it's weird. You like, there's some days where you watch your parents work 18 hours and then they work 3 hours and you go hang out the rest of the day. You know, it's always, it's something crazy. But so they end up getting back together while I was in high school.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, you guys waited long enough. Like, okay. So they got back together when I was in high school. My dad my mom's a workhorse too, but my dad's just like, he's got weird old man strength. and he can outdo everyone. It's weird,
Yeah.
you know? And I was like, you got some weird genetic thing going on, some like tumor in there or something. But, so they rebuilt his business, changed the name, did all that.
Okay.
That was a huge mess for a long time. And my mom was like, I will do your paperwork. I will run your office.
Right.
If you do this and we get some things signed, because, you know, stepdad, things didn't work out and things were not legally, like, they just took what they could, and it was like a lot of
Left her
trust
in a lot of pain.
there. Was not a lot of trust there. And she was like, I will not build another business unless we get these things in order, though.
Yeah.
They ended up getting married, and then so they rebuilt the construction business.
Okay.
And so my mom was like, I will run this and make sure nobody's screwing you. I will collect. My mom's a bulldog when it comes to where's my money? It's been 3 months. You said, and my mom would literally, she got kind of famous in the construction world because she would repo your asphalt.
Oh my gosh.
And my dad's like a really nice guy, like he's really hard dude, but he's like, we're like, oh, Tony, don't. She's like, I'll handle it. Give me the foot, you know. So they were like perfect team.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so I grew up with entrepreneurs.
That's how you thought, I'm gonna probably go into construction.
Yeah, so my dad always wanted me to do that. My mom was like, this is crazy with California stuff, like construction's so up and down, our guys, and you know, and so I was like, I don't really.
It's hard physical work too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I was out there with my dad, it was all handwork, and we were doing potholes and patchwork with asphalt.
Oh.
With one truck and like 3 guys. And so, but now, you know, they've got like a small fleet, and they just stayed at it.
That's awesome.
But I wanted to, so skip forward, this guy named Frank always used to come by. I can't even say his last name, Italian guy. I hope Frank's watching this because I can't pronounce his last name. He was actually Marty's friend. They used to work together at One America.
I know you're talking about me. That's what he's thinking.
And Frank was a really cool, funny, or he is, really cool, funny, loud Italian guy. He used to come over, hang out. They would drink wine, have all these papers out, and I was always just like, what does Frank do?
Yeah.
He always had like the new 300 Chrysler. I was like, what does he do?
I want to do what he does.
He's always dressed nice. He just hangs out all day. Like, my dad will sign stuff, my grandpa, and, you know, they just hang out.
Yeah.
And I was like, what does Frank do? So I talked to him, and he was like, oh, I sell insurance. And I was like, do you have to go to college for that? And he was like, no, you just have to go get a license.
Yeah.
He's like, they give you a book, you know, read it for a couple months, study, and go take a 300, you know, question quiz. And I was like, I might give that a shot. So I hung out with him. I wanted to see what he was doing.
You shadowed, mentored.
Went to the office. I was like, okay, like, what are you doing? Because I was like, I thought I had never been a part of finance, but I actually had a lot more grip on it than I thought because I was with my mom in the office.
Yeah.
You're talking about liens, title trades, people not paying you, all the legalities.
Debts, like, I mean, some of the same things like, well, we can't pay because of X, Y, Z. And then you're like, wait a second. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, payroll and insurance and, you know, I need you to go run this or to payroll and get these hours and come back from the yard. So I started kind of getting away from like the hand shoveling.
Yeah.
And I was like, Mom, I want to be in the office with you more. You know, like I'd rather do this.
Yeah.
And
it's air conditioned in here.
Yeah, like it's kind of nice in here. Like it's like more stressful in a way, but less like I'd rather do that than just be jackhammering all day and throwing up in the summer, basically.
Ugh.
And so, and just behind 1,000-degree asphalt. And I was like, out of all the things, why did my dad choose asphalt?
In Fresno.
And he would always say,
because it makes money.
It's black. They call it black gold. You know,
right.
Fishermen, concrete, asphalt, building houses. I mean,
welders.
Welders.
We need 500,000 welders in the next 6 years, like or something like that, because of how many we're going to lose, and the amount that those people who are willing to do that work will make because of the demand. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. But like, still, that's not enough. I don't want to do that.
Like a computer programmer probably makes money later, but like you can run heavy equipment. Like out of high school, you're making 60, 50, like you're making good money. You know, you got a boat by the time you're 22, like they make good money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, I already had a little bit of, I didn't realize I had some finance behind me already.
Got it, yeah.
I understood the business aspect. And then so when I started learning life insurance, I was like, he would talk to my parents and I was like, so what do you do? I was like, life insurance, you know, because he would come over and talk about him and me, and he would make jokes, you know, hey Damon, you know, if your dad croaks out there because he works too hard, you got this much money coming to you. And I was like,
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, but I was like, well, how much of that gets taxed? He's like, oh, it's tax-free.
You're like, wait.
And I was like, what kind of scammer are you running? Like, yeah, I was like, you guys are all going to jail pretty soon.
Oh my God.
He's like, no, it's life insurance. And, you know, I started like kind of when Google was kind of okay. And I started looking into things, and these are like, I thought insurance was just car, auto, you know, homeowners insurance, you know, equipment insurance. I was like, so if my dad dies tomorrow, or my mom, because they had to get insurance, they were growing.
Right.
They had assets. They were like, if something happens to us tomorrow, because my mom had already learned, like, if something happens tomorrow.
She was creating security because she's already been through.
She goes, I don't need you and your brother moving and trying to figure life out. Like, if you guys are set for a while.
Yeah.
And
she really did set you up.
Yeah.
For this.
And not like in a bad way, but I do think the worst when it comes to things.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking with people, I can be a little blunt. I have to like back off a little bit, because I've seen you could be living in a mansion one day and the next day living in a car. Like, you don't know. You never know what's going to happen. Especially
like, I mean, I just saw a TikTok. It was very similar. What you're saying is a lady's like, you know what life insurance would have done for us when she had a newborn.
Yeah.
And her husband died tragically. And she's like, I wouldn't have needed to go back after my maternity leave. I would have been able to stay home with my daughter.
Could have stayed home for 10 years.
And mourn, right? Yeah. Or I would have been able to maintain the lifestyle me and my daughter were going to have with my husband, what we had planned.
Gotta start
but we
stuff.
Didn't have any protection.
Yeah.
And now here I am working full time, trying to be the best mom.
Yeah.
Like, it's life's way harder.
Paying a babysitter to be mom. Like, yeah, it's
hard.
Sucks. Yeah. And that's one thing where growing up like that, and it's funny, as we're talking, I'm like, oh, maybe that's why I kind of gravitate. I'm like, yeah, like I want to protect everything.
You're trying to,
it's like a therapy session right now.
I know, look at that, you know,
it's like a little therapy
about,
session.
You wanted to create security for people. So I recently read something that said, if you're a person who spends your life, your mission is to help people feel seen, which is literally what I feel my mission is. It's because you have always wanted to be seen. So I'm telling you that today we're realizing your goal is to help people feel secure. Yeah. Or protected.
Yeah. Yeah, as we're talking, like I kind of knew that, but now that we're talking about it, I'm like, oh wow, this goes back a little further than I thought.
How cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and also then, okay, you had to go through that adversity for you to be prepared and have the passion that I know you have for this. Yeah. Because it's a hard job. What you do isn't easy. You're talking about the one topic nobody ever wants to talk about.
And actually, you just said something. I think that's why they call it the 8% club, because 92% of agents don't make it past the first year. But I think, now that I'm thinking about it, I think because I know what it looks like and then my family, we came into life insurance during my dad's rebuild of his company. Right. So family member left life insurance, and he was like, this is like my second chance at rebuilding. So I think that's why, because the first year does suck. You're like, how do I sell this?
Yeah. Like nobody wants to talk to me. Everybody's like, I'm not dying.
Like, like if I die, and then, so. Yeah. So you got to like go after business owners first, because entrepreneurs, one thing that they do know.
Good ones.
Entrepreneurs understand that no one's coming to save me. Yeah. My mom even used to make little jokes like that. I'm like, Mom, why are we? She's like, 'cause I don't have a 401k, Damon. That's why. Like, grab stuff. Let's go. Like, the faster we get this out, I was like, you're not on payroll. Yeah. You're not guaranteed a paycheck tomorrow. Yeah. We would have to give up our apartment to make money that month so someone else could pay our rent or whatever it might have been, But, and so, it was like, it kind of made sense, and I think that's why I did want to like protect people, or like kind of let them know, like if you don't protect this, not like my story, but this can happen, but in a different way.
Well, I do think that people can't hear it until you can give them an example that they could potentially relate to. Yeah. Right. And so you having a story that can be relatable is ultimately going to make more people go, oh. Like it clicks, right? I've lost young people. So for me, life insurance was a no-brainer, because I've watched my mom lose children or losing my dad in his 50s, and knowing how that affected my husband. Still has all his grandparents. They're in their 90s. He's never had a close loss. Yeah. And so when I met him, he's like, no, I'm going to live forever. I don't need this. And I was like, I feel like I'm throwing money away. And I said, No.
Throwing
if
a lot
you want
of
to
money
be
away
married
if
to
something
me, we're getting protected because
Yeah.
I've seen what it does to people when they're not. And I would
Yeah.
rather in this scenario have all of our assets protected.
Yeah.
So that if something happens to me, you can mourn. Just that simply, if it's just that, right?
Yeah.
Like just that, I want you to be able to mourn or
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah. And it sounds bad, but people with money think about it more.
Yes.
People who are coming up don't think about it until you do. It always
And a lot
seems
of
like
times
people
they're
who
actually
make a certain amount annually,
Yeah.
they think like they call me. I don't have to call them. They're like, hey, I make this much money now. I own these 2 properties. I've got 3 kids now. And, I might have to adopt one with some disability. Like, I need to make sure I have millions.
Right.
Because I do not need my wife scrambling if something happens to me. And I have a lot of stuff now. Trusts, wills, deeds in certain names. LLCs, it's like the life insurance is kind of just like the wall between you and the bank.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, stay away.
Yeah.
So I saw that at a young age, but a little bit different. Like, nobody died, but it was...
But your story...
As my mom rebuilt...
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, Frank, you need to come over. We need life insurance. We need to get this set up. We need, she already had the LLCs and all that stuff set up. But that was like the next step. And that's where I was like, wait, I can sell this without going to college? I don't have to
Right.
Yeah, I was like,
I don't need a 4-year. I don't need 50,000 in debt for this.
I can just go get a license. So it was pretty cool. So Frank took me under his wing.
How many years ago was this now?
This was like 8 years ago.
Man,
Yeah.
you look so young too.
Yeah, I got into it kind of young, but I was still doing asphalt.
Okay,
I was kind of going with him. I'd go by if it wasn't real busy, I'd say, hey, can I? He's like, yeah, go hit up Frank, go shadow and get out of here. We're not really doing much.
Sure.
The guy's got it. And so I learned a lot. I would just sit around, I would hear him on the phone talking, and I was like, this guy's just like, he's everyone's like best friend. He's just hanging out. He knows all their kids' names. They invite him to birthday parties, and he's just the insurance
This
guy.
kind of seems fun.
Yeah, I was like, he's just the insurance guy though.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so I got my license, and then as soon as I got my license though, Frank got cancer.
Oh man.
And it was pretty bad, so he had to step out. So his office, he had with another guy, was available. I would go sit in there. The other guy was really cool. Everyone knew. They were like, hey, we know you were friends with Frank, and we're going to kind of take you under our wing.
Yeah.
And so I kept learning through them, and it's like, how do I sell this? And in each, I would kind of like just go around the office and
learn
anyone who
in
had
different perspectives. Yeah.
Anyone who had a minute, they're like, okay, make a list of anyone you know with this, or make this, this is where you start.
Yeah.
And they were all very old school. Like, nobody was on Facebook yet. Nobody was doing YouTube ads. Like, these are guys with a Rolodex. And I was like,
and a phone.
There's really nice cars outside. How are you guys doing this?
Yeah.
And they were like, lunches, business meetings, Rotary, like, you need to get involved.
Yep.
And so they're like, you need to make connections.
Yep.
And, and not just transactional, like, a place on the corner, someone comes in, gets car insurance, they leave. Like, these are your clients forever now.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. I was like, okay.
Yesterday did a speech. I don't know. I talked at the Women's Council, and it was like how to run a successful business, and I turned it into your number one key is relationships.
Yeah.
And not a transactional relationship, but feel what people feel, care about what they care about, help them feel seen. You have lifelong relationships, will be lifelong business and referral partners, and it's more enjoyable when you're getting to work every day with people.
Like, do I really want to buy
like.
$1 million house from Brittney? Like, I don't know if I trust her. Like, you have to trust you. Like, I'm going to put a lot of money down right now. Are you really selling me the best?
I need this transaction to be
FHA,
like
SSA, like, what am I doing right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I need to be relatable. I need to be able to laugh with you. I need to be able to cry. I need to be able to share big moments. Because what you do with people's money also is because of a lot of big moments that are either going to happen or have happened, right? So
I've gone to court with people.
Oh, wow.
I go to a lot of birthday parties.
Yeah.
Like, my wife, like, she's very friendly, but sometimes she's like, okay, what's their
another
names
thing?
again? Like, I'm like, we got to go to another birthday party. But, so,
That's
like,
awesome.
you hear of crazy stories. People call you, hey, my sister's lost her husband.
Yeah.
I'm telling her she needs to get, so you go into some pretty crazy situations.
Yeah.
I had a lady lost her husband, and or they weren't married, but still, he took care of and she was like, I don't think I was on the deed because we split up and I don't know how this works. You know, he had these trucks. And I was like, I don't know a lot about that. Let me call some people.
Yeah.
I'll go with you. And, you know, the probate thing, that was when I was younger and I was like, I'm barely learning that, but I'll go with you, you know, because one of the guys in the office was like, you need to go with her.
How are you going to learn if you don't?
You're going to learn.
Yes.
You're going to go to court and you are going to realize how life insurance, that piece of paper will keep the government out of her stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is just got intense. So then you get like another boost of, because you don't like calling people to sell them, but once you hear stories and you see certain things happen, even guys in the office, like every week, something crazy with, you know, this guy, you know, the whole, you know, the cliche mom and dad died in a skiing accident. I've literally saw it, like someone was like, hey, I'm going to Idaho. My clients just passed away. I need to go help their kids. And I was like, whoa. I was like, this is real. This is crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
And so you get like another boost of confidence. Like you're not shy to call people now.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I want to talk to you guys about like, well, I don't know.
I have something to
Do you guys
offer
have
you.
Wednesday? I just want you guys to know. Yeah. And I want to share some stories and, you know, you guys are young. It's $30 a month, you know? Yeah. And so you get like a boost of courage to call people because sales is weird. You know, you don't want to bug people and referrals are better. You don't want, you know, you don't want to be hounding people.
Yeah.
But once you realize how serious it is, you're like, okay, I need to call everyone I know.
I need to protect them.
Because I just heard a crazy story this month and you see what happens I've seen what happens when people do have life insurance and when they don't. And it's a mess.
It's completely different.
Yeah. Even if you're just getting started in life, it's like the house could have been paid off or mom could have stayed home for 5 years. Yeah. And so you just hear crazy stories. I mean, thank God. So far, I don't have any insane stories, but you know, I think the craziest one I have that I can think of is, because all my clients are still pretty young.
Yeah.
Not nothing crazy happening yet.
Yeah.
But you know, there have been a few with older clients where I get them insurance. You know, you meet them, they tell you everything, you talk for a couple hours, you know, whether they're up in Northern California, they call you on Google or something. Yeah. And 2 weeks later, their wife calls you, hey, you know, Mike passed away last night in his sleep. And I'm like,
it's a little too late.
I just talked to him like, did you guys just got your policy? He's there. She's like, no, he passed in his sleep. And I was like, oh my God. Whoa. I was like, this business is crazy. Yeah. But they were fine. I was like, okay, let's call the company because it's really early. There's going to be a little investigation. They're going to make sure there's no weird play here. Yeah. It takes a month or two when someone passes that early. The company wants to make sure nothing's going on. This is a lot of money. No one tried to
foul play.
Yeah, no one tried to kill this guy or anything. And so, but I was like, don't worry. Like, there's nothing weird going on here. At least you got. In my head, I'm thinking, at least you guys have a lot of money coming because you guys do take care of your grandkids. Yeah. Their kids aren't there. Their kids are gone, but they watch 3 grandkids, and he was a little older, and now grandma's like, well, at least I know I got some money coming. Like, I can pay half the house off. I can put them in daycare while I'm going back to work or whatever it is. Right. But it's like, if you don't though, it's a disaster. Yeah. And I've heard of a few stories. And I actually had a client a couple years ago that I kind of chased around for a while and, hey, do you want to get this application going? And like a month later, he's like, actually, can I still get it if I have cancer? And I'm like, oh no.
Too late.
I'm like, we can't get it now because and that's what people don't realize. It's like, he was a guy from Madeira.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, I was like, dude.
That is hard.
Yeah. And
that's gotta be like one to the
it was so I was like, but it's another one of those things like I don't want to bug, but I'm like, dude, if you're gonna get it. You can always cancel it later. I'd rather have you insured. Yeah. You get like another gear of kind of getting in people's faces because this is serious. Yeah. You know, so I always tell people like, don't wait, don't go to the doctor, don't get anything checked out. We don't want to lie to the company, but if you don't know, we don't know. It's not illegal. You didn't know. Yeah. And so, you know, it's just one of those asset protection, and then you see the family coverage, and then it really starts to hit you. Even when you're young, I didn't have kids yet or anything when I got into this, but you know, even when you're young, you just hear these crazy stories.
But once you have kids, though, once you have a wife, even like you suddenly you're like, okay, we need to protect this. So before I go into,
as soon as we had my son, I was like, only a dad would probably. Everyone's like, he's so cute, look at him, and I was dead tired, woke up the next day, we were at home, they got this little guy sleeping next to us, and I'm just thinking, I probably need to get another $1 million life insurance policy.
Yeah, right? Yes.
It's just like the first place like a guy's brain goes is,
protect
I should probably get another
protect
policy
these
while I'm
guys
young.
right
Yeah,
here.
I can afford another $40 a month. Like, yeah, I should probably get another $1 million.
Yeah. Well, before I go into a couple other work questions of like kind of your why, which you've covered a lot, how did you meet your wife? Tell me a little bit about your love story.
Oh my gosh. Raven and I knew of each other in high school.
Okay.
We kind of passed each other once in a while. We knew friends that hung out with each other. But she hung out on one side and I hung out over here with these people.
Yeah.
And then a little after, so I kind of saw her here and there, and then she went to another high school after a while. And I only heard of her name here and there because all my friends had a crush on her. And I was like, I don't know who that is. And then so a couple years went by and we started hanging out with a mutual friend after high school. It was like the little hangout house during the summer.
Yeah.
You know, just one of those kind of like crash pads. Like everyone just goes over there.
Yes.
Like pool parties. And so I would see her around and we kind of started hanging out again. And then we were on and off for like, we were friends. And then we'd see each other in the summer. We'd date a little bit. And then we'd do our own thing.
Yeah.
And I would date someone. She would date someone. But we always kind of like came back to each other.
Yeah.
And then, you know, winter would come. I would get a text. Hey, what are you doing? Nothing. You want to go get something to eat? And then I would chase her the next summer or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So it was kind of that back and forth thing for a long time. And then we finally got together.
Okay.
And then I didn't realize how many people were watching our little on and off relationship. But like we got like 500 likes when it said relationship status.
They're like, oh, finally you two will admit it.
Finally. I was like, oh my gosh. Like I didn't know everyone was watching us.
Cute.
And so, yeah, but I mean, she moved away. She was going to school. She would come back. We would see each other.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we were just on and off forever.
Yeah.
And then actually got together and then moved to San Diego and moved in together. And then we're like, oh, we should plan for a kid in a couple. And then bam, Kane came. And it was like, well, when you make plans, God laughs in your face, you know?
Isn't that true?
Yeah. Oh, you want to wait a couple years? Well, here you go.
Boom.
You know? Yeah, the stork dropped him off. And then
what brought you guys back to Fresno?
Hmm?
Because you said you were in San Diego when that happened?
Yeah, we just wanted to, try
something different.
A lot of my mom's family lives in San Diego. And we were still younger and we were like always going places and we were just in the whole working, figuring it out, party, you know, when you're in your late mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're like, let's move to San Diego.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Fun.
Yeah, but if you get kind of tired of paying $1,500 a month
for
12 years ago for a 600 square foot old apartment they're like, oh, it has a dishwasher and it's like this big.
Yeah.
And that's what they sell you on. It's like, or you can go over to Fashion Valley and pay $2,200 a month. I was like, what? This was like 12, 13 years ago though. So it was fun for a while. She had a lot of friends out there, so we never waited in line to go into a club.
Oh, nice.
Never waited to go into a bar, never paid for one thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, we would not be able to go out this much if you didn't know people out here.
Yeah.
Because it gets expensive.
Yeah.
$1,000 table. I was like, we are so spoiled. This is crazy.
But what brought you back to Fresno?
We were in between all that with the insurance, I actually went to culinary school.
Oh, okay.
Before insurance, I was a trainer for a while.
Okay.
I had classes of 50 women out at Buchanan. I was working with a few Fresno State athletes.
Fun.
Few people from the gym. Like I just loved helping, selling programs, and so I was doing that during construction with that a little bit.
Okay.
And then that kind of dies out. It doesn't really pay much. You know, you're like, okay, I gotta do something else unless I open like a gym or something.
Right.
Which everyone was back then.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a while. I almost went in on a gym with someone. That didn't work, thank God. And then loved to cook, loved to meal plan. I was prepping food for people at one time. I was like, started this service, hired some people. I could be a private chef. Yeah, and then I went to culinary school just for the hell of it. I was like, well, let's do this, and then went to San Diego, and that's what I did down there.
Okay.
I worked at Valley High down in San Diego in the yacht club area, and I was like, okay, this is not what I want to do. This is insane. So yeah, I learned very quickly. I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna go back to insurance because I don't know what I want to do with my life right now.
Yeah.
So Then we came back to San Diego. We missed our family.
You came back to Fresno or San Diego?
I mean, from San Diego
to Fresno.
Came back to Fresno.
Family.
Miss family. It seemed like once a month we were driving all the way back for birthday parties and her friends and my friend. I was just like, dude, that drive through I was like, this is a gnarly drive. Like,
it is so bad.
We did it for a year. It was super fun, and then we were just like, let's come back, and then that's when we started adulting and popping out babies.
Making babies.
Yeah.
Buying a house.
And I was like, all right, I need to take this insurance thing serious. Yeah.
That's what. Okay. That's awesome. Well, so that's a great story. You have 2 kids. Mm-hmm. Kane is 7.
Just turned 7.
He told me he
going on 17.
He just had a birthday.
Yeah,
on March
going on
3rd.
17.
Oh.
Yeah.
And your daughter is?
She's 4. She's gonna be 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she's adorable.
And
so
yeah,
like
she's a little
family.
Yeah, she's running the whole house right now. It's cool. You saw her earlier. She was like, Dad. Yeah. She's very demanding.
Yes. She's cute though. And that's why God made her so cute.
Yeah.
So that you can't say no to her.
Well, and they do I'm going to have to put them on payroll pretty soon because they do my commercials. Mm-hmm. So Kane does my YouTube commercials. She does my funny videos. And then talking to some tax people, I was like, I need some more things to write off. And they were like, your kids do your videos.
Yeah.
You know, you can pay them like $12,000 a year. Yep. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to start doing podcasts with like people. I was like, I didn't know that.
Yep. I mean, I have my kids like door knock, that kind of like stuff mailers, like all kinds of things.
Yeah, they're an employee. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was like, how much can I pay them? How much can I like throw? They're like, about $12,000 a year each. I was like, oh, so we need to,
See, all of us like professionals, entrepreneurs need to be talking.
Yeah.
And this is why networking is so essential because like that's something you learn from an accountant, but you also have knowledge that an accountant doesn't yet know. Yeah. Right? And it just like all goes together.
Yeah. I just found out that you can write a dog off as security.
I didn't know that.
I'm going to have that guy on pretty soon.
That I need to know about. I just got a new dog.
You get if they're a big scary dog and you get a certain license, I don't even think they have to be scary, but this guy
mine is like 6 pounds. So.
I was gonna say this guy has 2 big dogs because his place is downtown Fresno, and he's like I have them licensed, and you go through a few things, and all my dog food, everything's a write-off. They are my security. I was like, wow. He's like, I have certain things in my truck, and I carry important paperwork, and I walk them with me to the parking lot, and I was like, the more you know.
I know. That's brilliant.
You got to network.
Yes, we need to be networking for sure. That is really interesting.
Fun fact.
Okay, I have a couple last questions for you. Mm-hmm. What attracted you to working directly with realtors or that type of networking?
Realtors, I do a lot of mortgage protection.
Yes.
I run ads for that. I do Facebook, YouTube. I do all that.
Let me stop you. What's mortgage protection?
That is just life insurance. People, they throw all these spins on it and confuse. It's just life insurance to protect your mortgage.
Okay.
But you can do whatever you want with the money if something happens to your family. But you get a $500,000 house, you get a $500,000 policy, and throw some extra on there for college and whatnot.
So that way, like just hypothetically, something happens to me. Mm-hmm. My husband, at minimum, the policy that policy would cover.
At minimum, the house would be paid off because that's usually people's largest debt,
right?
That's your biggest bill every
month.
And
now they have to like sell their home, and they can't even raise their family in their home because off one income they no longer can afford it.
And then most people they saved $50,000 up or whatever it is. They spent years saving money up, and usually if you're in a house for only so long, sometimes you don't get that money back.
Yeah.
So that's why you get the mortgage protection, which is just life insurance.
So I do have a question about that. Mm-hmm. What's the criteria? Are they still like doing the whole medical exam on you to give you that?
It depends. So,
or could you get that?
Yeah, it's actually a good question. So usually people getting their mortgage are usually pretty young.
Yeah.
Unless you're older and people are buying like their second, third house or whatever. But usually you're in your 30s, maybe early 40s usually when you're buying a house. And so a lot of companies now, because they like Ethos and all these carriers, they're pushing through policies very quickly. With all the AI, they can look through your medical records fast now, like in minutes. And so if you don't have a lot of medications, you don't go to the doctor a whole lot, your height and weight's good, you don't have any DUIs, bankruptcies, you're good financially.
Okay.
You're not a risk to the life insurance company. You're under 40 and you're getting $2 million and under. You can get approved in a couple days. I've had a guy approved in 18 hours.
Okay.
And because he got $2 million, he was only like 37, no medications, doesn't go to the doctor for anything. And they go, oh, you're a good candidate. You're not a high risk to us. You make money. You're working. You're good. Here's $2 million in coverage for you.
Now,
and he'd had to do no medical, no blood, no urine. They just looked through his HIPAA.
They were able to just do like a quick.
They just look through your HIPAA. They look through your driving records. They look, do you have any crazy bankruptcies that haven't been resolved? No, cool. Nothing popped up on our end. I get an email the next morning. He's been approved. And I was like, hey man, you were approved. Good for you. I was like, that was a record.
But here's another question, and maybe this is silly, but if it's mortgage protection. Mm-hmm. And it's tied to a person, but you have 2 adults, you need 2 separate policies? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay. You do 2 separate policies on the adults. And that's the thing.
Do you just go ahead then, like get the $2 million because you know 500 of it's going to go to pay off your house, or do you get a separate policy for 500 to pay off the house?
Well, and that's where I think people really drop the ball.
Okay.
I was very fortunate that I had a financial advisor take me under his wing. He's literally, his office is right over there. I'm still with him. A lot of agents are trained by agents. And a lot of agents train you to recruit more agents. So you're not really learning financial planning.
Yes.
A financial advisor says, hey, you're an insurance agent or broker now.
Right.
You also need to be getting these licenses too. You need to come with me and talk with big clients. I need you to understand taxes, liens, probate. So some people will say, oh, you got a $500,000 house, get a $500,000 policy, you're good. It's like, no, hold on. Does your wife work?
Yeah.
How much do you make annually?
Yeah.
Something happened to you, obviously you want your biggest debt paid off, but if something happened to you yesterday, how much does your family rely on your income every year? Do you want your wife to have to go back tomorrow or in 10 years?
Yeah.
And then you base it off the youngest child, and then do I want a 10, 20, or 30-year term policy? Can I afford a permanent policy that's a blend of both? So it just all really depends.
Yeah, so it's really important to actually have the conversation, which is obligation free.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're not even a pushy person. No. I mean, you're like the kindest person ever.
It's like 5 or 6 questions, and then you start thinking, no, I need more than that. Because if I was gone, I make $100,000 a year. I want the mortgage paid off, but college, I want $100,000 away for each kid, or they can buy a car, or start a business, or they can do whatever they want.
Right. Set them up greater than I was set up for, right?
My youngest one is 5. They're not really going to be more independent, able to walk to school, or someone else pick the, you know what? I need another, let's do another 100,000, or I'm sorry, another couple 100,000. So there's money there for at least the next couple years. Wife doesn't have to go back to work. She can go back to school if something happens to me, because you always base it off of the breadwinner.
Yes.
You know, unless both parents are working, but then usually one of them's like, well,
supplement for the loss of the other parent, even if they're both working.
Because if not, then the other parent, I mean, I have some clients where the mom makes way more, and the dad works part-time because mom got a really good position.
Yeah.
And now the mom's like, if something happens to me, dad's going back to work full-time. Who's picking our kids up? Who's paying for private school? Who's paying for Disney? Like, I need to supplement that. I'm not just going to leave you hanging. You know, I don't want you to have to go get remarried because you can't afford this by yourself. You know? So you just kind of look at it as a whole and say, if something happened to me yesterday, how much money do I really need? Like, how long is this money going to last? And I want the house paid off, because I learned at a young age, a steady house that you can go home to every night, no matter what's happening out here. Lost my job, lost the car, but we still have our house. And we have equity in the house, and I can borrow from it, and it's like, as long as you have a house, like, everything's good.
When I first got into real estate, I would get a paycheck and I would pay 6 months forward, because I had the same belief, like, everything else I can figure out, but I never want to risk losing my house. So it would, like, have a sale and I would pay 6 months forward. So I never had to worry about not having a bed to sleep in or heat on. You know, the rest, you can come up with money for a car payment. You can come up with groceries and all of that. But
we could sell a car if we need to, buy another one later. But a house is very important.
Yeah.
But if you don't have somewhere to put your head every night and go, okay, what's the plan tomorrow? And if you're jumping around and living in Jeeps and hotels and going, having a good time. But once you get older, you're like, okay, I can't do that. And then now that I'm a parent and I think back, I'm like, how did my mom do that?
Can you imagine?
That must have
so
been
I'm saying, like, she is hard, like, so resilient. She is a superwoman.
Yeah.
To
Awesome. Can you show me after? Okay, show me after. Saranster. Bub, shut that door.
That's awesome.
In case you didn't know, Saranster got the new Cybercore.
I know now. That's amazing. I don't even know who that is, but I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, I really, like, we got to get your mom on a podcast.
I was like, I don't even know how she did it.
She's hardcore. I mean, any mom that's had to do, like, any single mom, it's amazing the kind of things they have to do alone, right? And single dad, single parenting, right? But like, take it to another level when you need to live in your vehicle to survive. That's like heroic, right? To surpass that and then build all the way back up to the top again.
They're doing
so
great.
Good.
And it's funny because earlier I was saying, I think I skipped right over it. They kind of got a second chance with their business because paperwork wasn't done correctly.
Yeah.
Ex-partner, my dad he was like, I messed up. I've been out here working my ass off. This wasn't done. These taxes, I'm losing it all.
Yep.
And so my mom came back in, a family member passed away, left some money. My dad was like, that's exactly how much we need to get back on track.
Oh my gosh.
To get that stuff paid off out of my name, a new license, and my mom, and they were just like, should we do it? Like, can we, can you really? So started all over again, everything done correctly this time. And with my grandpa being a CPA, he's like, you need this. You need to have your stuff organized this time. No more partners, just you and Tony,
Yeah.
And they just and then
well, they had their second chance with each other too, not just in the business.
Yeah.
Like, it all came back around.
And then literally that second, they're doing great. They've got properties and everyone's doing well. My brother works out, just that life insurance was that second chance. It was crazy. And it wasn't like it was like a nice little chunk, but it wasn't like $1 million policy or anything.
It still
but
made
it was
a difference
enough
in
to
someone's
like,
life.
and instead of going back to work for someone else, it was like, oh, there's a second chance right there.
Yes.
It's just enough to get restarted.
Yeah.
And then they just blew it up from there 10 years. Yeah. So.
Somebody said earlier today to me, what's meant for you, you can't even run from it if you wanted. Like, she was talking about a relationship, but like your parents' story reminds me of that.
Yeah.
They weren't together, for whatever, like, needed to go through some lives and some things, right? But what was meant to be, put it back together. Like, you can't run. What God has planned will be.
Yeah, they broke up when I was 1 and then came back together later in life, and we're like, hey, let's start this business. Let's do something. We both learned a lot from our mistakes.
Yeah.
We'll never sign that again. Never, So yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, so life insurance, that's what kind of, got me asking, wait, what does that check? What does that do? And I was like, Frank, what do you do? So that's kind of how all that came. But earlier with the house, I wanted to talk about living benefits for a minute because
please.
Like you were saying, people pay up 6 months in advance just in case something happens.
Yeah.
I teamed up with the realtors. My gosh, I'm coming back to the question you asked
me
30 minutes ago. I ventured off out here.
Also fantastic. I have ADD, so she just we're all over the place, but she can bring it together.
So to answer your question earlier, I worked with the realtors because I was working with people and I realized every family I was working with, I started realizing that nobody was protecting their largest asset. Some people argue a home's not an asset because it doesn't make. I'm like, no, it is an asset.
It's like
spiritually, it's an asset, and whatever you want to call it. Like
it is the greatest. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's argument there. But yeah. Well, it's not making you money, and it's actually. I'm like, listen, it's an asset when you don't have one. When you don't have a house. And so, I started working with all these people, and I realized all of them thought I would say, well. Say, hey, Damon, come over, check this stuff out. I need a trust, or, what's the situation? I saw your video about deeds. Can come over and talk, come hang out for a little while.
Yeah.
And so I started to realize, though, every time I'd say, well, with the life insurance, we're going to get this much, and then we're going to cover the home. So you need $1 million. They're like, that's kind of a lot. And they're like, well, don't worry about my house because I have private mortgage insurance. And I was like,
so you started hearing that.
I was like, that's the 5th time I've heard that this month. And I would have to tell them, private mortgage insurance does not protect you. And they were like, well, then why am I paying for it? It's on my stub right here.
Not even close.
I'm like, that's to protect the lender from the bank who lended them the money to give to you. And they were like, really? I go, yeah. If something happens to you, you default, your lender had to go to this bank to get money to give to you.
Yep.
So what happens if something happens to you and you're out of this house next month? The lender's like, no, I'm insured. You need to go get insurance.
Yep.
So that started to really bother me. But I started to notice, like, there's a little niche, right? There's a niche here.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, private mortgage insurance protects your lender from the bank.
Yes.
Life insurance, God forbid something happens to you, goes straight to your wife or the wife to the husband or whoever.
Right.
And you
partner or
just
kids.
pay the house off,
Yes.
or you pay the mortgage.
Yes.
House is still yours.
Yeah.
Even if there's an income completely gone.
Amazing.
So I was like, oh my gosh, that's like the 5th time I've heard
You're
that
like,
this
PMI
month.
is not mortgage.
I started making videos and I was like, oh my gosh, but I get it. It's not the realtor's job and it's not the lender's job to really, you're already doing so much paperwork. It doesn't, they probably mention it,
I was going to say, even if the lender is mentioning it,
yeah.
there is so much information they're intaking. It is so overwhelming.
Buying your first house, I'm like,
Yes.
you're probably like insurance and this and homeowner,
Yes,
trying to
so
find,
overwhelming.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
So I think most people just forget.
Yeah.
And so, but that's why I started working with the realtors, because I started letting realtors know, hey, do you want to work with me? Got some flyers.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks PMI protects them. It doesn't.
Yeah.
And then they didn't really understand how life insurance worked. They're like, so that'll pay the, so that was a whole thing in itself. So I started doing little seminars and started working with realtors. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, we need to protect houses. As much as I'm protecting business owners, like, these people are going into a house.
Right.
They need to protect it. It's the biggest, I mean, it's not, I think people don't look at it as debt because it's not on a credit card.
Yep.
They're like, oh, I'm debt free. I'm like, no, you're in debt $500,000 for the next 30 years. You know?
Yeah.
And your whole family lives here.
Yes.
Like, you need to protect this. And so that was the niche there. But then you start realizing, you start doing some research and you realize that the number one reason people lose their homes is due to medical debt. And in America, we have the largest medical debt.
Yes.
Everyone you know has had some type of medical debt at some
For
point.
sure.
And so that's when the living benefits with the life insurance, I had to start explaining that.
Yeah.
Something happens to you and you're down for 3 months because you have cancer, heart attack,
Yep.
you're disabled for more than 90 days. I mean, like, one guy made a joke. He's like, I'd actually be better off just dead because now I don't have no money coming in.
Right.
I was like, no. There are companies, if you want to pay a few extra bucks, to have living benefits.
Yes.
You can tap into your death benefit
Yes.
while you're alive. Technically, your life insurance is now paying your mortgage
Yep.
or whatever you want.
Whatever you need it to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you do pass away, they just minus that from the policy.
From the amount that
you have $1
gets
million
paid out.
policy, you have something severe, you're talking 20 to 30%. You can tap in $100 grand. I mean, I've seen checks get, for 80 grand,
Yeah.
90 grand, 50 grand.
Yeah.
And it's just tax-free, money in your pocket. And they say, do I have to pay this back? It's like, no, as long as you keep your policy and everything,
Keep paying your policy, yeah.
Money's yours. Do whatever you want with it.
Wow.
Pay the mortgage, pay the bills, until you get back on your feet.
That's big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are like really good reasons to
Yeah.
be, picking your niche audience and going that
Yeah.
direction for
Yeah.
sure. Did we talk about the biggest mistakes you see people make?
Oh my gosh.
I feel like we've talked about a few, but
Yeah.
not specifically.
So specifically, the biggest mistakes that I see people make when getting life insurance or even financial planning is waiting too long.
Uh-huh.
Because, like I said,
Yeah. Cancer 1 week later. You didn't sign it.
You get a new job and you go do a physical and now you're I'm on blood pressure meds and I'm only 35. And I'm like, your price just went up. You should have got this last week and saved $50 a month. So waiting too long, thinking
Okay.
I'll do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Because then you have kids and then you're getting married.
Yep.
Dude, I don't have time.
Yep.
I just started this new job because now we got this. I'm like, you need to do this now. Takes an hour. We'll put in the application. You're done.
Yeah.
So people wait too long. They underestimate how much insurance they need.
That's a good one. Really
And
good
so so like I said earlier, you got the house. Okay, yeah, let me just cover the house, the cars, we owe $30,000 here and then I'm good. I go, no. Something happened to you. How much do you bring in annually?
Right.
I bring in 80 to 120,000 depending, That's what my family expects.
Yeah.
That pays Disneyland, that pays our trips, that pays for sports, that pays for everything.
Yeah. How many years you
Yeah.
want to recoup that for
Yeah.
them? Yeah.
And then so you got to take in, okay, your youngest is 5. You want to cover you want to cover your youngest kid at least until they're in their late teens. Maybe older brother's driving, can help mom or can help dad. Or so, okay, well, let's take your income. Let's multiply that. They say, and it's like perfect math every time, you want 10 to 12 times your income.
Sure.
You got the $500,000 house, 10, 12 times your income, you need $1.2 million.
Yep. Okay.
And it's like, when you think about it, that money would be going pretty fast.
It'll be,
And so your family can decide, okay, mom or dad is gone. This is really terrible, but we're sitting on 1.2 million. I think we're good. Like we're not struggling. We can mourn, we can go on vacation in their memory. I've seen people do this.
Yes.
I'm like, what are you guys gonna do? Oh, we're gonna travel to all the places he didn't get to go.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I don't feel like crying right now, but yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, well, you guys are in the clear. You just got a tax-free check. They're like, well, I'm gonna pay off half the house. That way I recuperate some of that interest, but mom's gonna go back to school. We're gonna buy a new car. We're gonna do this and that. And then once I have my better job and stuff and the kids are older, pay off the rest of the house or whatnot.
Choking.
Is she okay?
And then now there's water
You okay?
and now there's spill all over your chair.
Okay, that's okay. I'll clean it in a minute. Are you okay? Okay, I'll be out in a second.
Okay, I have one other question about the mistakes. Do you want me to close this?
No, they're fine.
Would you say that another mistake is relying on the company you work for's policy offering?
Oh, yeah. I just did a video about that the other day.
I feel like that is also not talked about. Like, people are like, oh, I have my husband.
Yeah.
I have life insurance through my company.
Oh, I have it through the bank. I'm like,
no. Your company, you will get rid of you at any time. Like, you're not an owner, like, even if you are, but you are replaceable at any time to them.
Yeah.
So now you worked there, you were loyal till 55.
Yeah.
And now that policy's gone. You can't even buy it out from them.
And it's never, they usually give you like a one. So I was talking literally just like last week, I did a video about this. Guy calls off Google and we're talking for a little bit. And he's like, well, I actually only need this much because I have a policy through my work and my bank.
Sure.
And I was like, how much does your bank give you? I'm not sure. I was like, so you don't even know how much you really have. And then so with work, I've helped people with things through work. Trying to get money out of a corporation and that policy is not physical. You don't own that policy. The company does.
Right.
And when people pass away, you're talking 3 to 6 months trying to get that money.
Oh man. So even just that.
Even if it's free, they don't want to just give that stuff away. I go, unless that policy is in your hand and you have beneficiaries on there and it's in your name, not the company's name. I go, do you really want your spouse fighting with the company for 6 months to get $100,000 out of them?
Right. Then they're normally pretty low like that too.
Yeah. Because usually what companies do.
They just don't stick with you. I just think think of the people who are like, oh, you're 42 and you just lost your job. You've had this policy for 10 years. Now you have to buy it at the rate and with blood pressure medicine or testosterone or whatever. You gotta buy it at the
age and health you are now, which it's like, dang, if I would have just locked that in at $40 a month 20 years ago, I'd be paying nothing.
Oh my gosh, right. Yeah.
So
I feel like that's one that.
Yeah. So if your job offers it, cool. You always want to have your own. You want that policy in your hand, in your house, where a spouse can, because when somebody passes, you're not all there.
Yeah.
You want to be able to go to the closet or the shelf and go, here's the name, here's my broker's name, here's the policy number. We just bought this house, we just bought these cars. Like, I don't want to fight with the company.
Yeah.
And like the best I've seen from like the county or something, they'll give you like 2 times your annual salary. And then you can keep a chunk of it if you retire with it. But it's like most people nowadays change careers 2 or 3 times.
Yes.
No one sticks anywhere for very long. So and then you forget about it. You have another kid or you remarry or you're single and it's like you just forget to get it. Yeah. So just always have your own.
Yeah.
You don't want to rent it from someone else. You don't want to fight with them about it.
Renting it, that is such a good tie that back into to real estate. Like you're renting, you're paying 100% interest. Or you could own and you could be paying down your own mortgage and building your equity. It's kind of the same with the life insurance policy.
Same thing.
Buy a private policy. Yep. Start younger.
Yeah.
Right.
Technically, they own it, not you. It's like
and
it's nowhere near enough. Like when people go $1 million, You have a $450,000 house. You got two brand new. You got a Tahoe and a brand new Chevy.
Yeah.
You make this much. Your wife. You got a young one. Your wife's not going back to work for 4 years until that kid's in school full time.
Right.
And when you start thinking about it, you're like, okay, this is paid off. That's paid off. Well, everything's paid off. Does your spouse have money coming in? Oh no. Yeah, I need to. Okay. Well, I make this much, and this is how much. They need $5,000 minimum to live on a month. If they just kind of like, size down a little bit, sold a car. I'm like, okay, well that times how many years? They're like, I'm like, that's another $600,000.
There
Look
you
at that.
go. Ta-da.
$60,000 times 10 years. It's like they're like, oh yeah, that is 1.1. It's
crazy.
Like, or $1 million. So it's like it. But still, even at that, it's not as expensive as people think it is.
No.
Now if you ask your grandparents how much they're paying, it sounds like a lot. But when you're young and you're getting $1 million term.
Yeah, I think mine is like 116 for $1 million. I have two different ones, but something like that.
I got mine young. I think both of mine are locked in for like under $40 a month.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
Yeah, I didn't get mine until my mid-30s.
Yeah, and I always tell people like you insure your car, but if you get in a wreck and die in the car's covered, but who's replacing the rest of the money?
Yeah.
You might want to insure yourself.
Yeah, good point. I think we talked about living benefits, but did you want to elaborate on what a living benefit is?
Yeah, I think because I went over it kind of quick.
Yeah,
so
you did.
A living benefit is usually a free rider inside of a life insurance policy, but there's only certain companies that offer them. Not all companies. Some companies are only death benefit.
Got it.
A living benefit is a free rider inside of a policy, and each company will give you different living benefits. The real term for it is accelerated death benefit rider.
Okay.
Which makes more sense.
Yes.
And so the company will say if you have cancer, heart attack, stroke, organ transplant, you lose a limb, you can't perform 2 out of 6 daily living activities like dressing, bathing, eating by yourself. You're basically disabled for more than 90 days.
Yeah.
Which means you're not working.
Right.
Some companies, one of my favorite companies, they offer critical injury, which which my firefighters and my officers love. If you have more than 15% of your body is burned, you have access to that money. You go into a coma, you have a brain injury, you lose so much of your eyesight, you have access up to 10 to 40% of your death benefit while you're alive. So your death benefit is not only for when you die and it goes to someone else.
Sure.
While you're living, protecting, don't have an income, you get cancer, yes, you have health insurance, but even with that, I know people that are still paying $50,000 outside of their insurance.
I know.
For the chemo. And
crazy.
And it's like, this money is used for anything. You call the company, you have your doctor's note, and you say, I have cancer, or I'm partially paralyzed and it's been more than 90 days.
That's
or
crazy.
I just came out of a coma, or whatever it is. I had an organ transplant. Usually you can't go over $1 million, but they'll usually say, depending on severity, you have access from 20 to 50% of your policy available to you.
That's amazing.
Do you want it in monthly installment, or do you just want a lump sum?
Yeah.
And then you get a big fat tax-free check. And they say
everybody should have that.
Yeah. So if you have to borrow $100,000 out of your $1 million policy, they just say you'll pay a little fee up front, like $200 to pull the money or whatever, transactional fees. Now, if you do die in a couple months, you already have the $100,000. We're going to give you the rest of the $900,000 because we already fronted some of it.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
That's totally fair. But it's nice that you have access to that.
Yeah. So that's why I tell people it's called life insurance. It's not called death insurance because you can use it while you're alive.
That's awesome. That's so good. I think we have a lot of great stuff to really kind of share your story and share with our reader why they would want to know you, right? I mean, that's ultimately what we're here for. But I know what they really want to know is if you had a superpower, what would it be?
If I had a superpower, I would probably want to be, who's the guy that can like read people's minds?
You want to read people's minds? Oh, I don't think I could be that. I don't know why, like flying, like I'm giving up flying right now. I know.
But it seems like everyone wants to fly.
Teleportation is mine for sure.
I would want to know, you know what would be really bad? Who's the guy that can control your mind?
Ooh.
I'd make everyone get a life insurance policy.
I want to control your mind.
I sit down with you and you're just like, I'm ready,
Done. Sign where?
Yeah, you'd have to wear like one of those metal helmets around me and just keep me out of your head.
That's funny. Okay.
I would want to read people's mind.
Yeah.
I would want to know what people are thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, because then you can use that data to respond differently. Like if you could intuitively understand what they're saying.
I would be able to sit with someone like Tony Robbins. I'd be the best podcaster in the world. Yeah. Because I would know what people are thinking and why. I don't know why. That just sounds so cool to me.
I think it's the way I think of it is like, man, I don't want to I already feel like I feel what everyone's feeling. I don't want to hear everything in their mind, but if you think of it from that perspective, I'm like, ooh, the amount of intention.
If you think about it, I remember watching X-Men or something a long time ago, and I was thinking, the guy that can read the minds can end this war right now. Right. Because he could connect these two. Why isn't he? This movie should have been over an hour ago. Like, I just wasted this guy can control this guy. He can stop the nuke. Like, yeah. I just think, like, flying, I'd probably get tired of flying. Yeah. I got a drone. They're making jetpacks. Yeah. Elon Musk is probably going to have, you know.
Yeah, he's got something coming.
Everyone wants to fly. Everyone wants to be strong. Everybody wants to move metal. I would want to read people's minds.
Okay. That's a good one.
I could end wars, or I could sell anything I wanted. If I knew your deepest.
If your deepest, yeah. No, I think you're onto something, but also
I could calm my
dangerous.
kids down super fast. When my kids are screaming, I could know what the problem really is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now they can talk, but
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, if somebody walked in here right now and was bringing your favorite treat, what would that be?
Ice cream.
Really? What flavor?
Chocolate or vanilla. I'm
really?
Not crazy, yeah. Huh. I don't care for cake. I don't care for dry. My kids and my wife are more like, they like dry stuff like bread and cookies and cupcakes.
Pastries and stuff.
I just want the frosting off it or the ice cream.
Funny. Yeah. I bet you were the kid in the that always licked all the frosting and then was like, I'm done. Here's the cupcake.
I can eat a quart of ice cream in
awesome.
one sitting with a good Netflix show. I don't know how I don't have diabetes. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you're fit.
So. I'll just sit there, and before you know it, I hit the bottom, and my wife's like, "Are you serious right now? Like, I bought that for all of us." Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Don't touch the other one. Yeah. The rest of the family wants some.
Ice cream.
That's awesome. Ice cream is great. Okay. Oh shoot. Oh, my very last question. When you're not working, what do you like to do with your family, without your family? Like, what's your hobbies?
My hobby now, and if my wife is watching this, I am already planning for it. I have a YouTube, my family has a YouTube channel.
Fun.
So we've got the GoPros, we've got the phones, I fly the drones.
Okay.
My hobby is buying my kid stuff so I can buy myself the same thing. So we just got into electric dirt bikes.
Oh yeah.
So our hobby is traveling, letting the kids run wild, hiking, trying different things, whatever it might be. And our hobby is basically our kids now.
I was gonna say, your hobby sounds like your family.
Yeah, we go to the beach a lot. We, take the boat out in the summer. We do it and basically I just catch it all.
I love it.
The kids are bobbing around on the thing. I put a GoPro on. Mm-hmm. It's all like first action, that's my hobby pretty much.
What is the name of your family YouTube channel?
Real Life Fam.
Real Life Fam.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll put it at the bottom of your article for you. Check them out.
Yeah, if you guys want a review of the best e-bikes coming out.
You got it coming?
We got those coming.
That's your family one, but you also have a educational YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. Where you're talking about all these things that we're touching on and more. And you're interviewing other people with their professions and their whys. Mm-hmm. What's that one called?
So I have Optimal Coverage, which is strictly life insurance, stuff with probate, cash value, all it's just all life insurance questions answered. And then Damon John Talks, which is where I interview CPAs, lawyers, people who, anything that has to do with business, houses, and then I even have firefighters on.
Yeah.
Just anyone interesting, anything you can learn something from.
Yeah.
And then we have the real life, just the fun, everything, mess around channel.
So you've got nothing going on. You're like
No.
completely bored
Yeah,
all
I got
the
a lot of
time.
free time,
Yeah,
just hanging
yeah, it
out.
sounds like it.
Yeah, we're just hanging out.
I'm envious of you. You
Yeah.
have nothing happening. No.
At night, yeah, I try to get in one show a week of something, but I'm usually, after the kids are asleep, I'm just editing videos.
Yeah.
I'm basically a part-time editor at this point. Yeah. It's fun.
Streamy.
Yeah.
Streamy.
Got all this fun stuff set
I
up,
know.
cameras,
You're a
and
great setup.
yeah. So pretty soon, once I hit like 50,000 subscribers, I'll be able to put YouTuber on my resume. But, yeah.
Pretty soon.
I'll be a YouTuber pretty soon.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to take all your advice and connect you with all the realtors in the meantime, you know, until you become a famous YouTuber. And
Yeah. Got to protect those homes. I want to see everyone in the valley keep their homes.
Right.
You know,
Oh my
generational wealth. It all
gosh.
starts in the house.
Right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, I don't have anything else for you. Is there anything that you'd like to share that we didn't touch on?
I think that was it.
I think we
I
went.
think I burned a hole in this thing talking.
I love it. Well, this was awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for letting the interview be on your podcast
Yeah.
or whatever.
And I do
we're
have a
gonna do.
podcast, so
Yeah.
if somebody
that
does
too.
have a cool story, or you know, I would love to have somebody on how they bought all their investment properties, or
Right.
how to, you know, buy a REIT. How do we do this? I always want to have people on. So.
Yeah. Let's all like come together and teach each
Yeah.
other all the things.
I learn really cool stuff from lenders and realtors all the time, and I'm like, I should have recorded that.
Yeah.
That'd have been a good podcast.
Yeah, let's if you are a realtor or a lender and you want to be on podcasts,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah. How do you
connect.
flip houses? Like, I want to have all those people on.
Man,
So.
me too.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this, though. This is
Thank
awesome. This is
you.
fun.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your kids' patience. They've been very patient.
That
I got
is-
here at 4:20.
That is real life fam
It's
right there.
6:30.
Yep.
So, all right. I think we're good.
Yep.
Go
think we
get your
got
ice
it.
cream.
Yep. That's more for me. See how I use them?
Oh, yeah.
See how I use them? I told you.
You told them. You want to get in the camera?
Say bye, Sissy.
Say bye.
Bye-bye.
This one over here.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You coming in?